Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Card Talk, just along for the ride.
He sure is. And I'm Ted Bannock, and I'm here because I love cards.
Yes, Ted, you do. Is there anything else you love, Ted?
That list is long. That's a long list that I love our patrons. That's up there.
Yeah, that is up there. That's really up there. So, just so Ted knows, and so everybody knows, we have a list of 16 patrons, conveniently the same number. 16, conveniently the same number of digits in an American credit card. So the current list of patrons is Daniel, David, Jason, Joseph, Justin, Kyle, Lewis, Matt, Mike, Dominic, Phil, Rob, Robert, Russ, Sean, and our latest patron is Ted for $1 million. No, I'm just kidding. Is Matt, and Matt and I did a little bit of a playthrough. So Matt, thank you so much for newly joining the Patreon crew. It's not much expected. It's much appreciated, and it was awesome playing the playthrough with you the other day. And just so everybody knows, if you want to become a patron of the show, you can join us at patreon.com/cardtalk2018. I'll put the link right down here so everybody can see it. And then we're still lining people up for Card Talk swag. So by the time Con of the Rings happens, whether it's going to happen or not, we're still going to give away swag in October. So you have till July. I'm gonna make the cutoff the 30th of July. So if you still want to join and get swag, it's pretty cool to help us out. So that's what we have going on today.
And if you're not currently a patron, you should really consider signing up, because David has committed to reading the Patreon names on every single episode. So if we could get maybe like 100 patrons, even just for a month, I want to put David in the position of being forced to read all those names or choose not to. And I think he's going to have to read them all, because clearly he's committed. So if you guys want to sign up maybe just for a month, we can make that happen. I think that'd be great.
Either that, or what you'll do is record it off screen and then just cut it into place.
In the United States, there was a Micro Machine man when I was growing up that spoke really fast. Maybe I could do that. I don't know. He was like Daniel, David, Jason, Justin, Kyle, Lewis, Matt, and now I've almost read them all. Twice.
I'm excited. The day will be here where that happens.
Yes,
I'm sure of it.
Right. But we could
today's episode of Card Talk.
Yeah, is a spoiler episode, right? On a card that is coming out in the 5th adventure pack of the Vengeance of Mordor Cycle, called the Land of Sorrow. I guess it's just that almost all the cards have been spoiled for that pack, and this is kind of the last one. The last couple are here. So, Ted, what is the card we are going to be talking about tonight in this spoiler episode?
The spoiler card from today's episode is the Red Book of Westmarch.
Yes, it is.
It is a 3-cost leadership attachment. It's unique. It has the traits artifact and item. It reads, attached to a Hobbit hero, restricted. While attached hero is committed to the quest, each Hobbit character gets +1 willpower. Response, after you quest successfully, exhaust Red Book of Westmarch to add 1 resource to attached heroes resource pool.
Oh my gosh. This is the book. It's really funny because Chad Garlinghouse of the awesome podcast Cardboard of the Rings had mentioned this in just the last episode that he recorded. He was talking about he would love to see the Red Book of Westmarch, and I forget exactly what the details are of that. And so lo and behold, a week after that episode, here is the attachment, and it's just I don't know. I was excited. I can't imagine how Chad was super excited, because this seems to be like an auto include in like the Rosie Cotton, make Rosie Cotton a super awesome hero Hobbit booster, right? Like, I mean, isn't that isn't that what this card is for?
Oh, yeah. You could certainly do some ridiculous things. Yeah, I mean, no matter what you're doing with Rosie Cotton, just to begin with, right? They're in the same sphere. And this is boosting Rosie Cotton stats because she's a Hobbit character,
Right.
which is therefore in turning boosting someone else, like someone else's willpower or other stat by the additional willpower. So Hobbit characters actually getting, with Rosie Cotton, going from, they're almost getting +2 from this book.
Right.
Sort of like.
So if you have like a fast hitch on Rosie Cotton, you can commit her to the quest, ready her, and then you can use her ability to add to the Hobbit hero that you wanted to. And then not only that, if you quest successfully, you get the resource. Like, to me, this card goes on leadership Frodo. Like, because he is questing successfully, he has to use a resource to use his ability. Like, that's where this makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, that's a great point. People love hobbits.
Yeah,
people are crazy about hobbits in this game. Grant, are you crazy about hobbits?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm crazy, but I do like them.
Okay.
Well, what do you think? What do you think about this card?
I think it's beyond time that we got this card. We've been waiting 8 cycles for it. It was a very prominent feature in the beginning of the books, The Lord of the Rings. It was mentioned a couple of times. And then, obviously, it has been expanded throughout the series. So I was happy to see its inclusion in the final card pool. Just for a bit of background knowledge, the Red Book of Westmarch is a manuscript written by hobbits to explain the fantasy writings of J.R.R. Tolkien. It is a collection of writings which the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings were recounted, as well as other works throughout the ages of Middle-earth.
Yeah, no fair. You're reading that. I can tell when somebody's reading. I'm a teacher. I can tell when you're reading that off the internet.
I just wanted to make sure my
no, I know. Right. I mean, isn't this the book that at the end of The Hobbit and at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings and at the end of like, this is the book.
This is Bilbo's memoir.
Yeah, like that's that book that was made there. So like, and I think that also there's, literarily speaking, this is going super dorky and meta on this card, but I think that there's points of view where the narrator in The Hobbit is actually Bilbo from this book, as opposed to like an omnipotent narrator or something like that. So
of course it is, because Bilbo wrote the books looking back at his adventure. He didn't do it while he was going through his adventure. So He's got the benefit of 20/20 hindsight. He doesn't, however, have the perspective as he once did back at that point in time.
And there is a little bit of a lore nugget here, to borrow a term. Sorry, Cardboard of the Rings. I didn't mean to steal your term, but there's a little bit of a real life nugget, is that J.R.R. Tolkien actually had to change the text of the Hobbit from the first printing to the second printing so that the ring became a more prominent feature in the book. And so the way he justified that, my understanding of the way he justified that, was because he was taking information from the Red Book of Westmarch and then like had to modify it, or got better information from the Red Book of Westmarch, or the Red Book of Westmarch was updated. Like, that's how he justified it in real life, as the difference in the first printing and the second printing. So in the first printing, the ring, the one ring that we all know and despise, is just a magic ring that Bilbo picks up, and there's not a huge like Gollum scene. But then the and then they changed Gollum to a little bit more menacing, and so that he matches who he is. And then so like that chapter, Riddles in the Dark, was kind of changed. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. Let's move off of that and let's move to actual gameplay. Ted, where are you using this card?
Well, like I said, people love hobbits. So if you are running, I mean, if you're running an all hobbit hero lineup and not even running any allies, it's immediately worth play. If you're running, I guess if you're running Sam and Frodo, and then any other third hero, right? You'll have the resources to play this within 2 turns,
right?
Then you're immediately paying 3 to get 3 willpower if they're all questing, and then you get the resource on top of it. It's also fantastic too because it's another way for. It's another way to not play Steward.
Right.
Like for Frodo, especially. It fuels Frodo's ability, but it gives you access to extra resources too if you... most hobbits are running secrecy a lot of times, but if you're not, or this is in addition to resourceful, to make sure you just get extra resources. And the fact that it boosts your hobbit characters too, if you're playing a couple hobbit allies, most of which have all at least 1 willpower, now they're up to 2.
Right.
You're pretty good. You drop this down and
3 willpower on a character is nothing to sneeze at. There's not a single tactics character except for Eowyn that has more than 2 willpower. And so I would say that 2, the jump from 2 to 3 in the game is, phenomenal in terms of bang for your buck for this card, right? And then you think about what Hobbit heroes this makes the most sense on, because it gets attached to a Hobbit hero, right? So it makes sense on Frodo, of course. Does it make?
Well, it makes sense on any off-sphere Hobbit hero you have.
What do you mean off-sphere?
Well, for example, if you're running, say, 2 leadership heroes of a Hobbit variety, or even just 2 leadership heroes in general, the off-sphere Hobbit hero would make more sense. So if you're running Sam, Frodo, and, say, Merry, it would make more sense on Merry to pay for those either Spirit, depending on which version of Merry you're playing, Spirit or Tactics.
Right. That's like resource smoothing for that off-sphere, for that third one that you want, or if you want to keep... I guess resource neutral with Frodo. I was also I had a thing. The bummer about this is it's restricted, right?
Well,
this
really.
is well, no. I mean, it has the keyword restricted on it.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
It's not really a bummer because
okay.
You have the contracts now that reward you for the 3 Hunters contract. That helps with playing this card because it's restricted. The first attachment that you gets a resource cost reduction. Then on top of that, it's another restricted attachment for hobbits that actually benefit hobbits in some way.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm playing this card in a 3 Hunters.
3 Hunters Hobbit deck?
Yeah, 3, but it only needs to be 1 Hobbit hero, right? And then, but
exactly.
it doesn't pay for itself if you're putting it into play. I don't think you're doing this if you only have 1 Hobbit hero. That's I guess.
You want to make sure you have enough Hobbit characters in general to make the investment of 3 resources worth it.
Right.
Even though over the course of 3 turns it will pay for itself, which is really, really nice.
I think it's definitely worth a play around with to see how well it's worth what it does. Generally speaking.
Yeah, you can do some. Sorry, go ahead, David.
No, go ahead, Ted. It's your show.
You can do some. You can do some tricks with it, right? As of currently, you could reforge this, right?
Yeah.
So you could, depending on what your hero lineup is,
Fahrenheit 451, right?
Yeah,
it's like all of a sudden
you could
book is burning.
You could find a way to toss this in your discard pile through a plethora of means, right? And then reforge it using spirit resources to get it on your Hobbit heroes,
Right.
There's also the Erebor Toy Maker to drop its cost.
Right. Yep. The Erebor Toy Maker. I I enjoy this card because of the Hobbit character thing. I feel like there's not a lot of cards that A, attach to Hobbit characters, and B, buff Hobbit characters. It's a lot of Hobbit heroes. Fast Hitch is a notable exception. Fast Hitch you can play on Hobbit characters, but like Rosie Cotton, her ability is for boosting and buffing Hobbit heroes, right? The Dagger of Westerness, you can't. It has to be on a hero. So there's just not a lot of things that help Hobbit characters. Bill the Pony, I guess, helps Hobbit characters, right?
Mhm.
So that's
Bill
pretty.
the Pony just helps hobbits.
Well, right, it helps all hobbits. And I mean, so that's the thing, but I still think it's a bummer because where are you going, I guess, like Grant said, I guess you put it on, your lore. If you're running the typical Black Riders, you put it on lore Pippin, right? Because lore Pippin doesn't have any other, he doesn't get a lot of attachments in that deck.
Yeah, the restricted part of it too isn't so much of a bother, because again, it depends on the character. Usually, like, to give up one restricted slot on one of your heroes is fine, because the other two are probably hand in combat anyway. Like, you only need to put this on your questing character, because if you have Tom Cotton, if you have Sam, those characters will probably have maybe a Staff of Leberthron. They may have a dagger. They may have a shield, and that's fine. You have a third slot to throw this on, so no big deal.
If you're running tactics, this is a great way to take use of the Golden Belt. The Golden Belt, which was released in this cycle, which allows you an extra restricted slot.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm thinking of, like, where is there room on Sam to put this, right? Typically you want to tower up Sam, and you use Daggers of Westerness, and you use things like that to make Sam an attacker. I guess losing one Dagger of Westerness on Sam, if you're going to do that, isn't horrible, right? But
See, I generally make me Sam me defender.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's lots of ways. This could go on Tactics Bilbo, right? Because he's not attacking. I mean, maybe if he gets Sting and a Fast Hitch and blah blah, but his primary function is to quest.
Right.
So he's a great target.
Right. I love Tactics Bilbo. The other
Lore Bilbo.
Yeah. No, I don't love Lore Bilbo. Fatty. We should have Electron John on and do an updated episode for having Fatty on the show. But the other card that nobody knew about was called Bilbo's Plan, and that seems to go really nicely, or I don't know, synchronize or synergize really nicely with Tactics Bilbo. But maybe you're right about the Red Book going onto a Tactics Quester or a Hobbit Quester.
I mean,
I'm thinking
a lot of
about,
decks are running like Pippin.
Right.
Like Lord Pippin is just, he's questing.
Right.
What
he's access.
He's got
he's access to lore is what he is, to healing and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. And Lord Bilbo is not a bad. It's just, I'm thinking about hobbits who struggle with stats a lot of times. So what do you give up on those hobbits to put this next restricted card in? And I
feel like
that's tough.
If you don't have room to play this, then like it doesn't belong in the deck in the first place. I guess is the easiest way to put it.
That's
But
true.
generally speaking, with hobbits, you're using, if you've got access to leadership, you're using other things to boost them rather than using their restricted slots. Because you've got stuff like the Dunedain Warning, the Dunedain Mark, the Dunedain Quest, if you want to pay that one extra for the extra willpower. You have ways of boosting them without using their restricted slots. Now, for characters that use their restricted slots, you've got the Staff of Labrathron, the Hobbit Cloak, there's the Dagger of Westerness that generally get used in Hobbit decks. But generally speaking, you're not really using much in the way on your final hero if it's running either the 3 hunters or even a tactics variant. You always have at least one character that isn't getting both restricted attachments fully utilized. So even in that sense of the word case, it's probably a good idea to put it in so that you get that boost.
And I guess, and I hear what you're saying, Grant. And I think that the thing that, like, now that I sit down and really think about it, let me sidetrack just for a second, is that one of the things that happens is I get like really excited about something and I can't see everything for what's going on. And so when I looked at this card, I was like, oh my God, you can put 3 out and you can get plus 3
Hobbits
on everything.
Yep.
And, like,
Calm
and then you
down,
get 3 and then I posted something like this in the Facebook and the Reddit community. Everybody's like, it's unique, moron. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And this is why I host the show with other people, so that they so that they can bring me back down to earth.
We had
the Rosie Cotton
episode,
right?
The Rosie Cotton episode, the Rosie Cotton-a-thon. And you can do some crazy stuff. Like, she's a great target for this too. You can use Messenger of the King, make her a hero, dump this on her. Like,
right.
It's a lot of stuff you can do with this card. It really continues to fulfill the Hobbit as a full archetype. I think what's important, since it does boost all Hobbit characters, as you mentioned, David, is just to really consider all of the Hobbit's characters that it's going to be boosting. If you look at some of the big characters that got ally versions, Spirit Bilbo, he'll be 3 willpower. Right. We discussed Rosie. Spirit ally Sam's got 2 willpower. Robin Smurbow's got 2. Gaffer Gamgee, whose primary function is usually questing.
Right.
Now he's
right.
2.
Right. I was thinking of that one the new Tactics Pippin. Right?
Yeah, Tactics Pippin.
He quests for 2, and then this boosts him to 3, but then he readies, and then if you're using Tom Cotton, he's questing for 3 and attacking for 4 in the round that he comes into play. Like, that's for a Hobbit, like, that's wild.
Yeah. Hellfast Gamgee, Leadership Mary ally. They both have 2 willpower.
Right.
You get some serious business. This also builds into, just general willpower boosting. You could use Leadership Aragorn and use Sword That Was Broken and Ally Faramir and this book, and then all your hobbits are plus 3 willpower.
Right. And then the Fellowship contract, and everybody's plus 4 willpower.
You could get really, really bonkers with this card as part of that toolbox.
That's crazy. This card looks really good, but it also looks really fun to play, doesn't it? Like, I think it's correctly costed. I actually think it may be low costed a little, like, for what it does, but it's like, you still want to be able to bring it out reasonable. So going from 3 to 4, I think, is a huge, going from 2 to 3 is tough, but then going from 3 to 4 is huge. That's why all those 4 cost events are so rough. All the ones that have been coming out, like, those are the ones that are like the bomb cards. This isn't necessarily a bomb card, but this is about as bomb card as you can get for a Hobbit deck, right?
Yeah, because you pay 3 resources and you immediately get the benefit. So even at minimum, let's say you have 3 Hobbit characters, you're paying 3 resources for 3 willpower, assuming they all quest. That's worth it. And then slowly over the next couple of turns, you get those resources back.
As long as you quest successfully.
Right. Yeah. Which you'll probably be doing since you just got the willpower boost.
So the thing is there's only 3 or 4 leadership hobbits, right? Hobbit heroes. There's Sam and Frodo, which I think is probably the kind of the low-hanging fruit of targets. And then is Hellfast Gamgee? Is he
He's an ally.
He's an ally?
Yeah, those are the only 2. It's just Frodo and Sam, unless you consider Messenger of the King.
Well, and then you Rosie and Hellfast.
Rosie and Hellfast, and then, or...
In all honesty, out of those, it'd be Rosie.
Mary's... Yeah, excuse me. Rosie's the only actual target to consider.
Yeah, and then Mary, right? The leadership Mary version.
I mean, you could if you want a 4 threat hero, because he's got 2 willpower, no attack, no defense, 2 hit points. So if you want a 4 threat, just Hobbit hero.
But that's what that's what Rosie is.
Yeah, exactly. You're way better off.
Let me build this deck that's less good with the same amount of threat, which let me tell you, I've been known to do. So I mean, it's fine. Bring my squirrely whirly deck to a thing, right? So
Bring it to the con.
right. And so, but I mean, I just feel like this card becomes like the card, like you work to get this card in the deck, right? Like, I mean, you just
you're gonna build for it.
You're gonna build for this card. You're gonna run 2 leadership hero, 2 leadership, not even 2 leadership. You can run just 1 leadership.
With 1, if you're in secrecy and you have resourceful out, then
right.
you might get the resourceful before you get to this, and then you can play it, and then no big deal.
NBD, right?
And I mean, if you're running low, then you're probably running Master of the Forge if you've got a lot of attachments, so that could end up helping get that out even quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, there's just a lot of fun things.
There's a lot of fun things you can do with this card.
It's a wonderful card to round out the archetype. It's
I mean, if you've run in Hobbit Pipe and another card that was released with this pack.
We're recording an episode right now. You're on the episode. Hey everybody, this is my wife Melissa. She's the reason why all of this can happen. Yeah, she's the reason for the season.
We've got the Shore and Think. I think it is
Smoke and Think.
Smoke and Think. I can't read the card properly.
Yeah, no, it's that's another one that you couldn't see the full text on, but it says for every pipe lower the cost of the next card you play for each pipe you control.
So technically, you could pull this Red Book of Westmarch out for free if you've got 3 Hobbit pipes on 3 Hobbit characters.
Right.
So it is possible to do. There's a lot of new tricks that you can use to get the Red Book of Westmarch out quite quickly. Obviously, I've already mentioned the Erebor Toy Maker. That'll drop the cost of the next attachment played by 2. Then if you've got Smoke and Think and you've got 1 pipe out, well, there's a free attachment for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's not unlikely to be running a pipe in your Hobbit deck. I don't know.
Well, especially if you're able to. Because obviously the Hobbit pipes are spirit cards. If you're able to run spirit, then you probably got them in your deck.
Right. What does Hobbit Pipe do again? I forgot what Hobbit Pipe does.
That's the one that allows you to draw a card after you reduce your threat.
With an event.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, this card is it's fantastic. Glad to see it. It's neat.
Yeah. It's
Hobbits are a thing. I've been waiting since Cycle 3. Ever since Spear Pippin came out, I'm like, Hobbits are going to be a thing.
I've been waiting since Cycle 1.
Yeah, 6 cycles later.
I've been waiting since Cycle 1 when they introduced Frodo, mate.
Yeah, right. Well, Tactics or Lord Bilbo, like that was
No, Bilbo doesn't count. He doesn't exist. It was Frodo. Frodo was the first.
I'm telling you, the more I play with Tactics Bilbo, the more I love him. I just really love him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I've played him in some playthroughs Grant and I have done. I've run him in a deck. But yeah, I'd like to see some other applications of him to see where he shakes out as well.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway. Go ahead, Grant. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I think that's all we can say about this until we actually get the Red Book of Westmarch on the table.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Completely change.
Right. That's this card I think is pretty good. Not that I have like a great sense about, like, I'm not renowned in the community for having great sense about cards. So I think that this card is going to be good. It's the Bilbo's Plan, that other card. That's the one that I have to reserve judgment. I think it's pretty good, but I think it's pretty good in a Tactics Bilbo deck.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on Bilbo's Plan. I'm going to have to wait and see about that one.
That's the one I want to play in a Tactics Bilbo deck, because I think it's meant to go with Tactics Bilbo.
I think Hobbit Archer is definitely one that the Hobbits have needed for a while. Gives them access to ranged. I just wish that they would have thought about that for dwarves as well.
So should we? We don't make it a. Do we have anything?
We usually don't.
Yeah,
we
go
don't
ahead.
bring these cards, and I don't think we should. We tried that the first time, and look at what happened. We messed up on the video. So
I know.
rating cards before they're played tends to be a bit premature. We've discovered, but yeah, we certainly can't wait to get our hands on it, and it's gonna be fun for all you hobbitses out there.
Here's what I'll say, and Ted, you've summarized this by saying Caleb has given us all the things for this. Like, here's all the things.
Here's just another thing that people didn't know they wanted it, but they wanted it.
Right. And what I will say is my translation of that is in every pack, there's not really been a card that has missed in this cycle. Like, there's not been a Spirit Pippin. There hasn't been, a Brock Iron Fist. There hasn't been cards that just are like so. Every card that's been out there, I feel like has been like a card that's like, I really want to try this card out. So here are all the things, players. This is Caleb putting a nice little bow on it for us.
And funny thing is, Spirit Pippin, great target for this card, because if you want to make a Hobbit deck that completely avoids enemies, doesn't deal with the whole, like, I'm just going to avoid enemies and I'm going to run a Hobbit lineup, then this is your card.
Right? And then you get the Hobbit Archer out, and you can just range over to the Hobbit. What were you going to say, Grant?
Yeah.
I think for the past few years, Caleb and company have done a phenomenal job of getting all the cards correct. I don't think there's been many, if any, over since Harad that have missed their marks.
Right.
Obviously, the core set that were just finding the feet, and from there, obviously, into the Dwardow cycle, they created a power curve with obviously Spirit Glorfindel and Elrond that kind of broke the meta of the game. Right. And then from Heirs of Numenor onwards, they seem to sort of find their balance. And yes, they created Spirit Pippin, which was probably less than desirable for most players. But they created it for a reason, and I can see some logic behind it. I can't say I agree with the card, but I can see some logic. But then, since then, nearly every card they've had has hit pretty close to home for what they've done.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. There's some cards that are okay and that are niche, but even the niche cards are pretty good. And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, everything's got its home. Like, this is you're only putting this card in it's only for hobbits. Right. Like, that's the character trait that it boosts, right? Otherwise, it's like a useless card.
Right.
If you don't like the Hobbit allies and you don't like the Hobbit heroes, this card it's trash.
Right.
Never come out of the box because you're like, I don't like Frodo, I don't like Sam, I don't like Bilbo.
Right.
Ted,
Ted, I have to say one thing, and then I think we should close the show. But I have to say to all our viewers, that is a phenomenal shirt you got on there. Limited release. It's great. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah. You got your name on
it. Everyone met the creator of it on this episode, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So,
well,
yeah.
Should we wrap up the episode?
Yeah, I'd say thanks everyone for joining us. We love to spoil cards, right?
We love to spoil cards. So everybody join us again as we talk about more cards from the game. Have a great day. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube, where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself, or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.